Peace, love, knowledge, and freedom, and welcome to another episode of the Just Seen podcast. Today, I'm going to talk about, I'll be talking about nutrition, not in depth or anything like that, or not anything plant-based related, but I'm going to be talking about nutrition because I was just sitting reminiscing, about a conversation I had with somebody, and like they had literally just finished eating. Well, not just finished eating. I say probably, about an hour or so. And they were like, they still hungry. And I'm like, fam, you ate a whole fucking meal. How are you still hungry and shit? And they were like, I don't know. So it, kind of got me thinking and everything about, I was like, yo, are you full? And they was like, yeah, I'm full, but I'm hungry. So I was like, how the fuck can you be full and hungry? Then I asked them, I was like, yo, you're malnourished. And they was like, nah, I'm not malnourished. I eat all the time and everything. I said, eating all the time and having food in your stomach does not mean that you're not malnourished, And then it got me thinking, collectively as a whole, our people are malnourished, collectively, because you got to think about what you're eating. Does it have the nutrients that your body needs? Does it have all vitamins, minerals, and key amino acids that you need to build your body up? And when I asked him, I was like, yo, you take a multivitamin and, take any kind of herbs that have nutrients in them, the nutrients rich herbs. And like, nah, man, I just eat. So it's like, when I look at how, we accumulate weight, how, we, become expansive, it kind of put into perspective that we eat because we equate being nourished to being full or being fed, and it's not the same thing. Being nourished is one thing, being fed is another thing, and like I said, it just kind of made me want to shift gears a little bit, because I know I haven't talked about this in my podcast yet as far as nutrition. I'm always talking about other things, so I want to switch gears a little bit and kind of focus on that, because it's a very, very, very important topic. It's something that we got to face and we got to deal with, because going forward, our future generations, they're going to need to they can't just be fed. That's survival. And we have to get out of these mentalities of just, operating from the space of survival. We have to start operating from the space of thriving and being viable. And one of the key important ways to do that is by the way we eat and the way we, make sure we get the right things in our body. Now, this is not any kind of propaganda or anything, or any attempt at conversion to say, hey, go plant-based or anything like that. No, that's not what I'm saying. But know that you now have to put extra things into your body in order for your body to work. Just eating and just having a full stomach, for 4 or 5 hours at a time until it's time to eat again is different than actually being nourished. Okay. But before I get into that, be sure to follow me on Instagram at _just_seen_. Be sure to check out my website, IamJustSeen.com, to get the books So Frail: A Reality to Black Male Masculinity, So Frail 2: Toxic Femininity, Hitting It Raw, Living a Raw Plant-Based Lifestyle for Life. What else? My merch, of course, the podcast as well. And be sure to follow all of those platforms on the respective social media. You can find all of those links and all of those connections at my website at IamJustSeen.com. If you, big kudos and appreciation to everybody who continues to sponsor the podcast, who continues to tip and donate. You are greatly appreciated. If you would like to sponsor, you would like to tip or donate, you can do so by clicking the links that are in the description of your podcast. Cash App and PayPal work just fine. So without further ado, as always, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back into food, nourished versus fed. Oh yeah, and don't forget to visit IamJustSeen.com. There you can get all things Just Seen. You want to add the So Frail series to your library? Visit IamJustSeen.com. You want to learn how to master the market for serious trading and investing? Visit IamJustSeen.com. You want to get your hands on some exclusive merch like tees, hoodies, coffee mugs, hats, bags? Visit IamJustSeen.com. Are you thinking about transitioning into the plant-based lifestyle? Visit IamJustSeen.com. You ever want to just chat with Seen about anything from simple advice to mentorship? Visit IamJustSeen.com. Anything and everything that is me, you can find at IamJustSeen.com. So just take a quick peek into my world and see why being just seen is nothing less but always more. Because you never really know what you need until you see it. You will never see it unless you visit IamJustSeen.com. All right, welcome back. And let's hop into it, because like I said, this is a very, very important topic when it comes to our community, when it comes to our social structure, when it comes to just our capacity to continue life and living. We have to first realize that we got to break the mentality of just being in a state of survival all the time, because it's being in a state of survival that we're focused on only being fed. As long as, our bellies are full, as long as we, have a full stomach, we feel that everything is okay. And for years, for generations, everything has been okay for the most part. We look at the fact that, grandma, grandpa, great grandma, great grandpa have lived, 70, 80 years, and they ate bullshit, or they put bullshit in their bodies. And we feel like that's okay because it worked. But how much longer could they have lived, or how much viable could their bodies have been had they have been, nourished as opposed to fed? So we have to look at first the difference between the two. To be nourished means that, like I said, you're getting all vitamins, minerals, and essential amino acids that your body needs to function. Okay. To be fed simply means that your stomach is full. It's satiety, like, what I'm saying? It's you're feeling an appetite. That's solely what being fed is. You're fulfilling an appetite. But to be nourished means that you're feeling an appetite with the key things that is going to keep yourself vital. Now, of course, I'm going to be talking about food, but that can be applied to all levels, mentally and spiritually. You can be mentally fed, but not mentally nourished. You know what I'm saying? You can be mentally fed and still be mentally malnourished. You can be spiritually fed and still be spiritually malnourished. But those 2 points, the mind and the soul, I'm not going to cover those. Those are two topics that I can go deeper into those, and they'll take away from what we're talking about here. But from the physical aspect, the foods that we consume and the foods that we eat, we can be fully fed and still be malnourished. And when I look at our communities, we have been in this position. You gotta, like what Meek Mill got a song called the Oodles and Noodles Babies. A lot of us are oodle noodle babies, and just off of that, we eat a lot of snacks, we eat a lot of junk food, we eat a lot of bullshit, but we eat and we're fed. You feel what I'm saying? We eat and we're fed continually, but we're not nourished. So like I said, it goes back to the conversation I was having. And, like I've seen it all the time. Motherfuckers would just eat and eat and eat. And it's like, yo, how are you still hungry? And it can never register because the person is nourished. The person isn't nourished. That's why you're still hungry. And it goes into other things too, like what eats first. Like when you eat a certain way, you get parasites. The parasites eat before you do. And that's a lot of where the expansion comes from. The parasites eat first, so we have to keep eating. We have to keep eating to be fed. You know what I mean? And then ultimately that's where, the fat accumulates, and that's when we start to gain weight and we start to gain size, because our body the receptors to stop eating never go off because we're not nourished. You feel what I'm saying? There's a combination of things with every meal that we're supposed to get, that are vitamins, minerals, and amino acids that we're supposed to have within our bodies, and nucleic acids too, and lipids. All right, let me start over. So the whole point, there's 7 things your body needs off rip. It needs water, it needs vitamins, it needs minerals, and it also needs protein, lipids, carbohydrates, and nucleic acids. It needs all of those in your body, and when it has registered that the meal has given me all 7 of these components, then it says, okay, cut off. We're full. We're done. We're done eating. We don't need any more. You know what I mean? But when we're consuming food that lacks all of that, and we just eat and eat and eat, we continue to eat and gorge on the food because our bodies are craving things and our bodies need things that we're not going to get solely from the foods that we consume, you know. Um, so when I look at a lot of people and I'm asking them like, yo, why are you still hungry? You know, a lot of times you're still hungry because you're dehydrated. You haven't drank enough water, you know. Not just drinking liquids, juices and shit like that. You need to drink. You need to drink water. You need to drink water. It's that simple. Your body is made of about 65 to 70% water. So 65%, 70% of the things you consume should have water in them. This is why eating fruit is important, because fruit automatically has water in it. You feel what I'm saying? But that's one of the key components. Like, you're not getting enough water, you know? And in that, you also have to consider that consuming too much water can be bad if you do not have the key vitamins, minerals, and amino acids in your body, because all you're doing is flushing things out and getting things out. So the body works in a catalytic way. So the vitamins, minerals, and amino acids, they don't stay in your body. They don't. They go into your body. They do the function that you're supposed to use. And then that's why the water is also important, to flush them out, you know. But like I said, when we eat, when we consume foods, like, our diets consist of things that just make us full, you know, that give us enough to say, okay, this meal time is done, but there's no nourishment. You know, there's no nourishment. We're always fed. So when we're consuming our foods, we need to make sure that we're able to get all of these things. So yeah, they're big on that. Yo, you got to have protein in your diet, you know, but that's it. That's what they limit it to. They don't teach you about eating to have nucleic acids, because nucleic acids break down to nucleotides to help your DNA during replication. You feel what I'm saying? They don't teach you about lipids, because lipids help with the fat storage. Lipids are healthy fats. You know, lipids ultimately are going to be broken down to the fat group, which is going to be monosaturated, saturated, polysaturated, and then trans fats. Trans fats shouldn't even be in our bodies, but those are the fats that we eat the most. Those are your potato chips. Those are your artificially made foods. Like, there's a lot of trans fat in those. You know, the trans fats are not good because they're man-made. You know, they're man-made. They're not organically created by nature. You know, what I say, nucleic acids, lipids, carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are very good to have. Like, so many times they keep saying they always talk this shit, low carb diets, low carb diets. Yes, you're not supposed to consume yeast and bread on a regular basis, but you need carbohydrates. You need simple carbohydrates and complex carbohydrates, you know. So on a regular basis, and then of course protein, you know, but on a regular basis, we're eating so much food, and we're eating so much because of two particular points. One, we're not nourished. So we keep eating because this is what we know our bodies needs to stop. Like, this is why you get the itis and you go to sleep, because your body needs to shut down to start to process this shit that's not, and it has to process it the best way it can, but it doesn't even have the fuel it needs. You feel what I'm saying? If you look at the bag of potato chips, you'll look at some of the quote unquote key nutrients it has. Like, it'll have like potassium, it'll have iron, it'll have things listed on the bag, but it says 0%. Because you're not getting it. Your body needs those things, especially, and as melanated beings, we specifically need iron in our bodies. It's funny because, you know, when I talk to women sometimes, you know, when I used to, you know, have my relationships and be involved with women, we cuddling and shit, and she put her feet on me, and they cold as fuck. It's like, yo, your feet are cold. Your feet aren't supposed to be cold. You're anemic. You're anemic because you're not getting enough iron, because in your diet, in the food that you're eating, the food that you're consuming, there's no iron. There's no iron, especially not the iron that you need. You feel what I'm saying? You need a specific type of iron. I want to say it's ferrous oxide. But I don't want to get too scientific. I didn't do the preparation for that aspect of it for this. But yeah, we need iron in our bodies, and we're not getting that. Which, if we have enough iron, our blood flows correctly. You know what I'm saying? Blood pressure starts to regulate, different things like that. Iron is very important, but we don't get it. You know, so in many regards, we are very, very malnourished as a people, as a collective, but we are well fed. You know, we love to talk about the big meals that we eat and things like that, Sunday dinners and shit. But all of those Sunday dinners that we're eating have no nutrients in them. They have no key nutrients in them that we need to thrive and to be vital, only to survive. You know, and I get it. It comes from the generational circumstances that were pressed upon us. We're not in those circumstances anymore, so we don't need to continue to eat that way. We don't need to continue to consume our food that way. You know, and these foods do nothing but in damaging our bodies and leaving us malnourished. They fuck up our digestion, you know? So it makes it so that our bodies can't even recognize what's supposed to be broken down. Because like I said, when you have the 7 things that your body needs, water, amino acids, water, vitamins, minerals, nucleic acids, protein, lipids, carbohydrates, nucleic. Yeah, I said them all. When your body needs these things, specifically the protein, lipids, carbohydrates, and amino acids, there's an enzyme in your mouth. When you salivate, when you're eating and you get that moisture in your mouth, that moisture, that saliva is full of enzymes that break down those 4 things. You have proteases, you have amylases, proteases break down protein, amylases break down carbohydrates, nucleases break down nucleotides, and lipases break down lipids. You need these enzymes in your body. So every time you chew, every time you eat, they're secreted because your body has already recognized it based off of your taste buds. Your taste buds can identify what particular food source you're eating. So when the taste buds register, okay, bam, I'm eating an apple, it automatically correlates to apples are simple carbohydrates. Apples give you simple carbohydrates. So it's going to secrete the amylase enzyme while you chew to go into your stomach to start to digest it and break it down to go into your body for absorption and digestion. But we're not eating these things on a regular basis. So the foods that we're eating, the chips, the cooked foods, the fried foods, and all these things, your body can't recognize what enzyme is supposed to be used. You feel me? And then on top of that, because we're mixing the food so much and we're putting shit together, your body's in a state of confusion because we're eating things that shouldn't be going together. For example, there's a process called food combining. And I talk about this in my book, Hitting the Raw, Living the Raw, Plant-Based Lifestyle for Life. Now, reading that book, you don't necessarily have to go plant-based, but the information in there can help you even if you are a meat eater because it shows you how to prepare your food correctly. So one of the key points that I talk about in that book is food combining, right? There's a right way to eat right. You feel what I mean? There's a right way to eat. And with food combining, certain things go together, certain things don't go together. For example, protein and starches cannot be digested together. Protein and starch cannot be digested together. You feel what I'm saying? Your body needs to separate those points when you're eating them. A lot of our foods are both protein and starch based at the same time. And we're consuming that. You feel what I'm saying? So when you're eating that, your body now recognizes like, I'm only going to do what I can do together. Like proteins and vegetables go together. Protein and certain fruit go together. Like nuts as protein like certain things go together. However, certain things don't go together and they will conflict. And your body's going to say, you know what? I'm only digesting one of these. Only one of these things is going to be digested by me right now. You're eating both. So I'm going to pick which one it is. And when the body picks which one it is, it digests that one and the other one gets stored. Now, the problem with it being stored is that it becomes a toxin as it sits. Because where does it sit? It sits in your large intestine. Because as it passes through the intestinal system, when it gets down to the base, it just sits there. And it doesn't go anywhere. So now we are reabsorbing and recirculating toxins in our bodies. You feel what I'm saying? So ultimately, once the large intestine starts to get damaged because we consistently keep the toxins in our bodies, once that point gets damaged, what happens is we no longer absorb protein. You feel what I'm saying? We no longer absorb protein because protein is absorbed and digested in the large intestine. That's why a very key component of nutrition, they always tell you to get protein powders. The reason why they give you protein powders that are already formulated is because when you drink them, they start to digest in the small intestine. That's not even where they're supposed to be to digest. Protein are supposed to be the last things that are digested, and they're digested in the large intestine because that is a higher process to digest and break down. You feel what I mean? And we're not utilizing that. So because the intestine, they know, oh yeah, your intestine is done. It's gone. It can't even absorb protein. So now you still have to get protein. So now use these protein powders. Because even if you're eating meat, even if you're eating the protein they tell you to eat accordingly, it's not going to give you what you need. Because by the time it's supposed to digest, the areas which it's supposed to digest at is broken and damaged. This is why they say get your protein powders. So like I said, those ingest in the small intestine which fucks up the body because the body it's not supposed to digest things there. Not protein anyway. You feel what I'm saying? There's certain aspects that are supposed to be digested in the small intestine, but they give you the protein powders, right? So a lot of these things are now becoming artificially made because your body is now being in a position that it can't naturally do what it does. So it has to artificially do it. You feel what I'm saying? So now it goes back into us being malnourished because a part of being malnourished means that your body cannot do its proper function, which is digestion. Being malnourished and indigestion go hand in hand. You feel me? The inability to digest food, the inability to digest the nutrients, the macronutrients and the micronutrients that your body is supposed to get, leads to the malnutrition because now you can't digest properly. So again, when we eat and we're fed, but we're not getting any nutrients, our body can't do what it's supposed to do. When you're actively nutrient rich, when your body gets enough nutrients, this is why one of the key importance, like when they talk about sea moss, one of the key things about sea moss is it curbs your appetite. It doesn't curb your appetite. You're nourished, so you're not hungry. Your body doesn't say, hey, I'm lacking something right now. I'm lacking something right now. Your body is that intelligent where it says, hey, I'm lacking this shit. So now we have to go into the next part of one of my favorite things when I look at nutrition is taste, flavors, and cravings. You feel what I'm saying? The body creates a database of the things where it can get its nutrients from the best it can. You know, and I love using this metaphor and I always use it. It's not really a metaphor, but it's the reality. But I love using this example because when women are on their menstrual cycle, they always want chocolate. You know, they always want chocolate. And the reason why they want chocolate is because what they don't understand is that, I'm not going to say they don't understand. Let me not say that. But what's missing is the point that the reason why you start to crave chocolate, you know, specifically a lot of times it's dark chocolate, milk chocolate. It's the rich ones, right? But the reason why chocolate is craved is because your body has eaten enough chocolate, you know, eaten a specific brand, specific type of chocolate enough to create the database in it. It says, okay, I can get these nutrients from this particular place. I can get these nutrients from this particular place. So now a woman's on her menstrual cycle, she starts bleeding. First thing she loses when she bleeds is iron. And women are already anemic, bro. Like if you're not consuming iron as it is and you're having your cycle, you're going to be anemic like a motherfucker. You're going to get sleepy. You're going to get tired. You're going to be lethargic. All of that because you don't have iron in your body. Without the iron in your body, the oxygen is not circulating properly. That's why you're sleepy. That's why you're tired. You feel what I'm saying? But we're not going to cover that part just yet. But looking at the iron missing from the blood flow, and then the cramps. The reason why you get cramps is because there's calcium deficiency. See, calcium helps with muscles. When your muscles start to lose calcium and there's not enough calcium in them, they cramp. This isn't the uterine line it's a muscle. That's where the cramps come in. You start to cramp because the calcium is gone, and with the calcium being gone, you know, you have that's your body's signal to say, give me some calcium. I have a muscle cramp. Give me some calcium. I need it. You mainly need calcium, but you will also need sodium and potassium because you have a system in your body for your muscles called the sodium potassium pump, right? And it causes it's an influx that helps with muscle contraction. So now when the calcium's gone and that muscle contraction is happening, it doesn't stop. That's why there's a cramp. It's overused. It's overworked, and the calcium helps alleviate that. So you're gonna need calcium, sodium, and potassium, but more than that, you're gonna need calcium as a whole, and that's what your body is calling out for. So during a cycle, when a woman gets her cramps and she starts bleeding, she needs both iron and calcium. She craves chocolate, and in chocolate they infuse calcium and iron in them. Next time you get your chocolate bar, next time you get your candy bar, look on the back of your candy bar. You're gonna see iron and you're gonna see calcium in them. There's going to actually be a percentage in those. And that's why women crave that. You feel what I'm saying? Because those two nutrients are lacking. But now the body says, okay, you don't need enough leafy green vegetables. You don't need enough of these particular things. So I didn't store that database because I know you're not going to go to it. You don't eat that frequently enough for me to say, to create a craving for you. You know, but what you do eat frequently enough, here's the craving. This is where I can get the nutrient from. You feel what I'm saying? And how your body creates a database, like I said, you have cravings, flavors, and taste. So your taste, the flavors are combinations of nutrients, combinations of things that give off a specific flavor, right? So when your body tastes that flavor, when your tongue tastes that flavor, the taste buds activate and it starts to associate. Okay, this has this this has protein in it, this has lipids in it, this has carbohydrates in it, this has nucleic acids in it, and this particular thing. And the flavor, let me store this flavor because I know I get these nutrients from this particular thing. You feel what I'm saying? And now I can create the craving. So when I know that I'm lacking this, I'm going to trigger the craving and you're going to go eat it to satisfy me. You feel what I mean? I'm not even going to get into the emotional side of eating and things like that because that's a different dynamic. But your body creates these cravings, right? So now when you eat them, your body says, okay, this is the way I had to get what I was going to get. You feel me? I couldn't get it from any other place. I couldn't get it from, a different source. So this is where I'm going to get it from. Right? So once that starts to play its part, things start to regulate. So now here's why they say, and a lot of times it's the woke community. It's like when you speak on things you don't dive deep into, you talk about the right shit, but you just don't know why you're talking about the right shit. So they'll say, well, women ain't supposed to have a monthly cycle. Or women shouldn't be like, okay, no, every woman has a monthly cycle, period. It's no way around that shit. Even if she's plant-based, she's still going to have a cycle because it's based off of the moon. It's based off of the movement of the moon. She's going to have a cycle because ovulation has to happen. To say a woman is not supposed to have a cycle because she goes plant-based is to say that automatically when you go plant-based, a woman no longer ovulates. She no longer secretes the egg once a month that she's supposed to secrete in order to be fertile and get pregnant. Like, you know what I mean? So certain things we limit our capacity of the understanding that we know. So when a woman's cycle comes on and it's short, or she's not bleeding as much, or she's not cramping as heavy, now that is the reality. She's not supposed to have those things because when she has the abundance of nutrients within her body, she's not iron deficient. She's not calcium deficient. She's not deficient in any of the key nutrients that are lost when her menstrual cycle comes on. And if she keeps an abundance of those, you feel what I'm saying? She builds the storage up. So when the moment happens and all of the ovulation process is a very, very advanced topic, and it requires a lot of nutrients in order to move an egg through the fallopian tubes and, go through the whole process. It requires a lot of energy. If you look at cellular energy, you have ATP, which is adenosine triphosphate. That is our energy source. ATP comes from, it's broken down through the Krebs cycle, citric acid cycle, and things like that. But you have to create the ATP energy. Your body needs that energy in order to move all of its cellular processes. Okay, it gets that energy from carbohydrates. The carbohydrates breaks down the glucose molecule into two pyruvates. The pyruvates then go into a certain thing to create the ATP energy to give you the energy. I'm not going to go heavy into the science of it, but this is the concept. You feel me? So when we have an abundance of nutrients, so let's say a woman is consistently eating right and doing what she's supposed to do every day, like not just eating and being fed, but nourished. She's getting all of her amino acids, all of her minerals, all of her vitamins every single day. It becomes a storage. It's literally almost like this. You have an abundant amount of money in your account and you set your bills up on autopay. When the cycle comes for the autopay, it just drafts it out. You're not in the negative because you had the money there, because you continually put the money in. It's the same shit with our bodies. You feel what I'm saying? I use women as the example because it's a lot more easy to understand it from their perspective, because that cycle that hits, that autopay, is their monthly cycle. And if they're not in, you're going to get the mood swings, you're going to get the emotions that are going to be completely out of whack, because emotions are created by hormones. The hormones secrete to trigger the emotions. Now, hormones are also manufactured in glands, but they're manufactured by the cholesterol that we're able to eat. You have two types of cholesterol, that HDL and LDL, right? High density lipoprotein and low density lipoprotein. Right now, off the top of the head, I want to say the low density is the bad one. The HDL is a good one. I could be wrong. It could be the other way, because like I said, I didn't sit to think about this. It's coming off of the dome right now for the most part. But the good cholesterol is now broken down to create the hormones. You feel what I mean? And when you have the healthy cholesterol in your body, it creates the hormones, which then regulates your emotion. It regulates your emotions. Our emotions are directly connected to our hormones. You feel what I mean? So when we have the nutrients in our body, the good cholesterol that can break down, so the hormones are secreted accordingly, so the emotions are more stable when that happens. But when you don't have that abundance, when you're paycheck, basically when you're paycheck to paycheck, cycle to cycle, and you don't have that abundance, when that auto draft hits, when that auto pay hits, it takes what it has to take, but the body is that intelligent that even if it's lacking, it will convert other things into different nutrients that it doesn't have. So a lot of our bone, we osteoporosis comes because a lot of our nutrients are stored in our bones and our bone marrow. So the density will come from that. Like you'll lose bone density, but it's like, I had to get these nutrients from somewhere because you're not eating right. You're not giving me what I need. You're not keeping the abundance in there for me, So when we consider that, us as men too, we have to deal with that. We need cholesterol within our bodies to control our emotions. Otherwise, the testosterone secretes and everything, and we start losing our shit. We start going crazy. Men, I did a episode on this. Somehow my mic got fucked up, so it couldn't get the information. We have a monthly cycle too. We don't bleed. We don't ovulate, clearly, but we have a monthly cycle too that goes exactly 28 days, just like a woman's does. Why? Not because of the like when we have the conversation like, yo, dude, you're on your period, you're on your myriad. Yes, men have periods too. We have myriads too. We just don't have them physically the same way women do. But the reason why is because it's still connected to the moon. The moon affects water. The moon affects water. Our bodies are 60 to 70% water. The water helps hydrate us to make our blood flow correctly, and the moon is affecting the blood. The blood regulates what? The transmission and the transport of our hormones. Our hormones are connected to emotions. We have cycles too. However, ours will be off and just like a woman's, ours will be off if we do not have the nutrients when our cycles hit. All right. Look. The markets are not a difficult place to understand. All right. You just have to know what you're looking at. And there's 5 things that you need to see before you can make any market entry. First, you need a pocket so you can know which direction the market is going in. Second, you need a pullback so you can get the better price. Third, you need a battlefield so you can see when that market movement is slowing down. Fourth, you need the upper hand so you can see when the market reactivates. And last, you need a final push so you can see the exact moment when it's time to go with the direction you are already moving in. Okay? Of course, there's so much more that has to go into that, and it's not as cut and dry as that. But those are things that I teach in my Mastering the Market course. So if you would like to learn more, please visit IamJustSeen.com and check out the Mastering the Market course today. Although it is directed and specialized for Forex, all of the skills, I crafted them to be transferable to any market that you're looking at. So again, visit IamJustSeen.com and check out the Mastering the Market course today if you are truly looking to master the market. Oh yeah, and don't forget, while I still got you, you can use promo code QUARANTINE to save over 90% off of the enrollment of the full price of the course. That is QUARANTINE, QUARANTEEN. You dig what I'm saying? So don't think that I'm just catering this to women, because it's for all of us, but women are easier to understand because they have a physical expression that we can see, that we can chart. My brothers, pay attention to when your emotions change. Your emotions change every single month around the same time. And you have the same 5 to 7 day window that women have when your cycle is on. Miss me with the bullshit. I'm telling you, we can go to depths with this shit. You feel what I'm saying? And our fuck up with that is that we don't understand our own cycles. But like I said, I already did a podcast episode on that. Even though the mic got fucked up, it still has some quality information in it. I'm talking about the nutrition, right? So having the right nutrients within our body helps offset that. But how do we continue to have the correct nutrients and the nutrients that we're supposed to have? Our bodies take these things in. Our bodies go to different food sources, and we're looking for that ability to make our bodies do what it's supposed to do. You feel what I'm saying? You feel me? Like, that's hard to do because we don't know nutrition. We rely on a nutritionist as opposed to what our bodies need. I'm going to tell you 100% right now, our bodies are different. Okay, the melanated body is different. The eumelanated body is different from the pheomelanated body. Okay, we require different things. You know, the reason being is because eumelanin is selenium based, pheomelanin is sulfur based. Okay, so when they tell you we're all the same, we're not. So our nutrition cannot be the same. Yes, a pheomelanated being can eat animals. Eumelanated people can eat animals. However, for optimal efficiency, we are to be consuming plants. We are by definition and creation herbivores. Yes, you may have eaten meat all of your life. Yes, grandma and them may have gotten to that, but our predisposition, our natural proclivity for life is to eat of the earth. Because our melanin has selenium, it's selenium based. Eumelanin is selenium based, which means we're also supposed to eat an abundance of the selenium ion, selenium element. You feel what I mean? Sulfur, we're not supposed to consume on a whole basis, right? So now people ask, how can you tell the difference? Well, sulfur has a unique smell to it when it's wet. Okay. What I'm about to say can come off however it's going to come off, but the reality is the reality. This is why we say Caucasian people smell like dogs when they get wet. It's not that they smell like dogs. They smell the way sulfur is supposed to smell when it gets wet. Animal skin is sulfur based. Now, how you decide to perceive that going forward, that has nothing to do with me. However, animal skin is sulfur based. If you cut the fur off of an animal, the skin is pink. The skin is pink, or there's a pale color because it is pheomelanated, which means that it is sulfur based. Okay? No animal, if you shave off of their fur, will have eumelanated skin, because eumelanated skin is for humans. That's why they took the E out of human, so it can try to be universal. But hue is the man of hue. One man of hue, H-U-E, the color. Cannot be a human with no color. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about nutrition. So our nutritional standards are based off of a pheomelanated structure, not a eumelanated structure. This is why we need a lot more color in the things that we eat. We need life in our bodies. Pheomelanated beings can consume death. We can't. This is why in nature, they eat their food raw. This is why in nature, they eat their food live and running, as they say. But when you look at how we eat, according to I remember I was working in a car lot and I had one of my homies, they had threw us a party or some shit, and the dude was cooking on the grill. He was like, "How do you want your steak?" I said, "Well done." I was 22 at the time, so I was a lot younger, but I was like, "Well done." He was like, "You sure?" And I was like, "Yes, I'm sure. You make that motherfucker done. I don't want no fucking lot." So my homie, he's a black man, and he's like, "Yo, the best kind." He said, "Because you want to get it medium rare so it's tender." And I'm like, "Yo, we can't eat like that." I said, "That shit makes my stomach hurt." It's like, how you can't eat no medium well steak? I said, if I don't eat any, if my food is not cooked properly, if it's not cooked right, there's no blood in my shit, I will get sick. A lot of us get sick, but we don't want to admit it. We just think, "Oh, my stomach hurt. Now I got to go to the bathroom." Like, no, because you're not supposed to be eating that shit. You feel what I'm saying? Hell, if you want to stick to the point where it says we're able to eat animals, and you use the biblical reference, use the biblical reference accordingly. And it says, do not eat animals that have the lifeblood in them. That means you're not supposed to eat anything raw. But pheomelanated entities can eat raw food, raw animal food. You feel what I'm saying? That's why their steaks are not cooked right. That's why a lot of their foods don't be done right. But our stuff has to be cooked properly, because we know. We always knew this. So now when we go back to the soul foods, we go back to the chitlins and all of that stuff. This is why our ancestors, when they cooked it, even as they were enslaved, they cooked it well done. Because they knew our bodies are not supposed to consume this, but what we're supposed to consume, we don't have. You feel what I'm saying? A eumelanated being needs to consume life. Things that are still viable. You cannot eat a viable animal, but the pheomelanated being can. The pheomelanated being is more connected to the kingdom that can eat those things that way. You dig what I'm saying? So now, Our nutritional standards are based off of that, and that's not our basis. You feel what I'm saying? So now when I go back to the conversation that I was having with the homie, and I was like, yo, you're still hungry because you're malnourished, because you're eating things that don't coincide with the body that you have. You know, on a physical level, we'll go to a gas station with a Range Rover and we will refuse to put 87 gas in it. We don't just look at it and say, oh, it's just gas. No, you better put that premium in that motherfucker. Why? Because you're going to fuck my car up if you don't. But yet we won't put the premium shit in our premium bodies. We are literally putting 87 food in our bodies. And we're not getting the proper nutrients and the proper nutrition to fuel our bodies correctly. And that's the crazy shit about it, because our bodies still are at a very high efficiency. You feel what I'm saying? I heard this elder speaking, and he was like, imagine how great Michael Jordan is. Imagine how much greater he would have been if he was plant-based. Because his melanin would have been operating efficiently. A lot of the shit that he was able to do on the court was because his melanin kicked in. His inner ear melanin, his neuromelanin, that shit kicked in for his impulses. Now imagine if it was fueled the right way, if it was catered to the selenium structure that he has. You feel what I mean? We're different. So we can't eat the same as those people because we're not the same as them. You dig what I mean? So now, when we look at nutrients, as I said, the nutrients that you need vitamins, minerals, and amino acids. Your body needs those. Amino acids are for proteins. Amino acids are for protein strings and protein strands. That's why that's important. Like when you ask, what do you need out of these things? That's where you get to. So when they tell you, you need protein in your diet. Okay, yes, you can get protein from plant sources, but why do you need protein? You need protein to be broken down into amino acids. A protein sequence is just a combination of amino acids that go together. You dig what I'm saying? When you look at lipids, what does a lipid break down to? It breaks down into specific fats, saturated, unsaturated fats. Those are the fats that you need. You don't need trans fats in your body because your body can't do nothing with them. You know, nucleic acids, they break down to nucleotides. What are nucleotides for? They're used in the sequence when your body is doing DNA replication. It fills the nucleotides into the structure as it replicates, but it needs available nucleotides to do so. You know, carbohydrates, as I said, carbohydrates are for the energy, because the carbohydrates break down to like glucose, fructose, sucrose, those different elements. It uses those for energy because it converts those into the pyruvate. The pyruvate molecule. The pyruvate molecule is then converted into adenosine triphosphate, which is the ATP energy, which gives your cellular energy to function. Your body has to break these things down and then send them to their respective places. So when your muscles are damaged and you work out and you need protein, you don't need protein, you need amino acids. The protein has to be broken down to the amino acids to rebuild your muscles. You feel me? When you need insulation and protection, you create fats, but the fats come from saturated and unsaturated fats, and then the unsaturated fats now convert to give you the different things. So now that goes on to a different level, because with the lipids, like I said, you also have hormone regulation and hormone control that goes into that based off of the cholesterol. Cholesterol is connected to lipids and fats, right? So we as a people aren't supposed to eat saturated fats. We're supposed to eat unsaturated fats. Unsaturated fats means that there is not a double bond, so that way it stays liquid. We eat saturated fats, like we cook in lard and butters, and then it re-solidifies within our arteries. You feel what I'm saying? Because you got to think about it. If it still remains solid at room temperature, it's going to stay solid in your body, which is going to help with creating the plaques and give you high blood pressure. You feel what I'm saying? Unsaturated fats stay liquid, so they're going to be liquid in your body, and they're going to move through as they're supposed to. They're not going to clog the arteries because they're liquid. They're not going to solidify. You feel what I'm saying? So the nucleotides are very, very important too, because I personally feel like you should get nucleotides from plant-based sources, because the nucleotides you get from animals, they carry the animal trauma. And then that encodes within your DNA. You feel me? But all of this is about the nutritional aspect that we have. How deep do we understand nutrition? It's deeper than just being fed. You have to be nourished. You can eat as much as you want to. You can have a full stomach, all you like, but you can still be malnourished. So again, now when we go back to the sea moss and people are like, yo, sea moss has 92 of the 102 minerals. What are these 102 minerals that you need? It's every element of the periodic table. Why? Because we are of the earth. These elements are all found in earth and our body needs them in it. You feel me? To do certain functions. You have gold that helps with the heart. You have copper that helps with our electrical impulses. Copper is a conductor. Why do you think they use copper wires to send signals electrically? Because our bodies, inside of our impulses, our synaptic nervous system, within our nervous system, you have synapses that occur between nerves and neurons. And it's an electrical impulse. You need copper for that. You feel what I'm saying? You need the element of selenium. We definitely need selenium because, like I said, we're melanated beings. Our melanin is sulfur-based. The structure of our melanin has selenium in it. We need to have that selenium to keep our melanin popping. We talk about our melanin being on fleek because we put coconut oil on our skin, but what about the other forms of our melanin? Are we actively giving it the right nutrients? You know? So again, like I said, when one of the key components of sea moss is the 92 of the 102 minerals. And then in addition to that, you have, people say, well, it curbs your appetite. It does not curb your appetite. You don't have an appetite because it gives you all of the nutrients to say, I'm full. My body has gotten everything that I need for this particular day, this particular session of me eating. I don't have to tap into my database and say, go eat this, go eat that. You feel what I'm saying? So that's how our bodies work, you know? So I look at our kids growing up and I look at like hell, you know, this is not a slight to my mother, but me and my siblings were malnourished children. She was a malnourished woman. She came from a malnourished background. We were always fed. We had meals every night. We had breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We always had food, but we were malnourished. You feel what I'm saying? I didn't start taking multivitamins until college. And even the multivitamins are lacking because if you take a one a day, it has what are called fillers and binders. And these fillers and binders, what they do, they're created to make sure the pill holds together. So when you digest that shit, you only get a third of that. Now, mind you, they give you a one a day. They say take a one a day, right? And one a days, these one a day tablets, they're for the bare minimum of survival, right? So now they say, okay, let's say it has 100% vitamin A, but when it breaks down, you only get a third of that. That's 33% of vitamin A. So not only are not only is the pill designed to only give you the bare minimum, you're getting a third of the bare minimum. You feel what I'm saying? But at the same time, if you were to take 3, you would overdose and you would get sick. Why? Because your body can't handle the fillers and binders that are holding the pill together. You feel what I'm saying? So that's why I encourage that when you get your nutrients, you take things like alfalfa powder, because alfalfa has about 70% of the vitamins and minerals that we need. 70% of the vitamins we need. Take your sea moss gels, because sea moss has 92 of the minerals that we need. You know, amino acids, you want to take moringa powder. Moringa powder and maca powder are great for amino acids. They have all of them. You feel what I'm saying? You have 20 amino acids. You have, you have 9 essential amino acids. Therefore, you would have 11 non-essential. The non-essential ones, they're called non-essential because your body can make them if it has the right things in it to manufacture them. And then you have one specific one that can be converted from cysteine to cysteine or some shit like that, but it can be converted within your body. Your body can do that, but you need those main 8 those main 9 that are going to be, needed for your body, for your functions. Because like I said, your amino acids help with your DNA structure. Not your DNA structure. That's nucleotides. Your amino acids help with your protein structure. So within the cellular system, you have within the mitochondria, I want to say it is. No, I'm wrong. It's not the mitochondria. It's on the endoplasmic reticulum, because you have the rough endoplasmic reticulum where you have what are called ribosomes. Ribosomes are where the proteins are made. So they're telling you to eat protein, but your body makes protein. And it makes protein based off the available nucleotides that it has. So when it knows that I need a particular protein, hey, for hair growth, I need keratin. Okay, this is the string of amino acids that I need. Okay, these amino acids go through a ribosomal process where they are linked to create the right protein to send to the right place. You feel what I mean? When you need the muscle protein, you know what I'm saying? Like your body will make that within the ribosomes, but it needs amino acids. You feel what I'm saying? And when your body is consistently getting all the amino acids. So like I was saying, moringa powder is very, very good and it's high in chlorophyll, but moringa powder is one that is good for amino acids. Maca powder is good for amino acids, but maca powder has two forms. You have red maca, you have black maca. Those are phenomenal. Red maca is specifically for women. The earth already said, yo, bro, we gonna make this for the ladies. Black maca is made specifically for the men. Yellow maca is the harmony between the two. But if you want, okay, women, you're on your cycle, you different things like that, consume maca powder, red maca powder, because that is energetically created for the woman's body, physically created for the woman's body by the earth. Black maca is for men. So now the individual components help with, like for the red maca, it helps with menstruation and it helps with everything that is reproductive, right? So the black maca then will help with the prostate. It'll help with the urethra, the glands, everything within that area. The red maca will help for menstruation, uterine lining, and uterine health, fallopian tube health, all of the things that are connected with the female side, the woman side of, I just had the word. The woman side of the reproductive system, okay? But it gives you all of your amino acids. Nature has already prepared this, and we need nature. We need nature. I'm not telling you not to eat animals, but if you're going to eat animals, you know, at least eat animals according to being fully cooked, for one, and then making sure that you're getting your nutrients from outside sources. You're going to need them because they're not in the plant. They're not in the animals. That is an indirect source, because you got to think about it. Even if we're eating animals, that is, the animals eat plants. So that is like we're getting a secondary source where we could just go straight to the source, right? But then it goes deeper than that, because in eating the animals, like whenever we take in and we consume the what we think is nutrients, a lot of those nutrients are dead. Your physical human body cannot live over 107 degrees Celsius. I mean, Fahrenheit. Celsius would definitely kill you, but 100 degrees Fahrenheit. If you hit 108, if you get a fever on 108, you're at risk of dying. You might die in that moment. 107 is hot. Like when you see somebody with your body is naturally 98.6 degrees. If it only goes up 9 degrees, you can die. But we cook our food over 100 degrees of what our body would normally tolerate. So all of the nutrients that we think we're getting, they've been denatured. They have already been broken down and they have been destroyed. So when we're taking them in, we're not really getting anything. Because after that denaturing happens, it does not renature. When the food cools down, it does not renature. It's already been destroyed. So we're eating under the premise, oh yeah, eat this, you're gonna get this protein. Eat that, you're gonna get this fat. Eat this, you're gonna, no, these things have been transfigured, transmuted, and transformed, and they're not the same anymore. Because the heat has significantly transformed them. They're not the same. You feel me? They're not the same anymore. So we're eating that, we're consuming that. And this is why we eat and eat and eat. And we still feel hungry like minutes later, hours later. Oh, I'm still hungry, man. Like, damn, I can't get full. Because you're not nourished. You're fed. You know, a lot of us, we're heavily malnourished, heavily undernourished. And it's problematic, because what happens when it's time for our kids to continue life? You know, we think we're doing the best. I'm doing the best that I can because I'm doing what, like, you're supposed to take what your parents did and elevate it. But if they know best, then you always believe that they know best. You can't anticipate that they've done wrong. You know, so we continue to eat these foods and we continue to eat this bullshit. And this bullshit is not nourishing us. You feel what I'm saying? So again, I'm not saying stop with your eating habits and stop eating the certain things and eat this way. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying make sure you have nutrients in your body. You feel me? Make sure you, like sea moss gel, this is why you need sea moss and why it's important. Herbal powders, this is why you need them and why it's important. It's deeper than just, oh, I gotta be alkaline. Know why, what your body needs. This is why when people eat sea moss, they start to lose weight, because they're not hungry anymore, because they're nourished. You feel what I'm saying? You can be fed and still be starving. You can be fed and still be malnourished. You can have a whole full belly. And this is why our bodies start to expand, you know? I got aunties who would look at me and say, yo, you haven't gained any weight. I'm not supposed to gain weight. I'm actually at the size I'm supposed to be for my body mass index. I'm good. If I want to put on more size, because weight is mass times acceleration from a physics standpoint. You can't change the acceleration because the acceleration is due to gravity. It's 9.8 meters per second squared. So you can only change the mass if you want to gain or lose weight. How do you adjust the mass? That's what you can control, the mass. And the mass is based off of what you eat. You feel what I'm saying? It's based off what you eat and the caloric intake and all of that shit. But that's a whole different conversation I got. I think I'm going to keep on this theme and stay in the nutrition vein for a while, podcast wise. But yeah, this is one of the key things as to what's wrong with us. We're not nourished. We're not getting our nutrients. We're fed. We eat all the time. We gorge on our food. Like go to the fast food places. I skipped this. I was supposed to answer this question like a long time ago when I was talking about food combining. I don't know how I drifted off to get all the way here. But with food combining, like I said, proteins and starches aren't supposed to go together. Right? Basically, meat and bread don't go together. But what is our number one staple? Everything we have to put bread with it. So our bodies don't digest it accordingly. When your bodies don't digest, it picks one that it's gonna digest. And when it picks that one, the other one ferments in your body and it becomes toxic. And it destroys your large intestine, which then fucks up your digestion. You feel what I'm saying? So when you go to your favorite fast food restaurant and you get your burger and your fries, you get your chicken sandwich and your fries, the sandwich is the fucked up part. The fries are fucked up too, and I'll talk about that in a second, but it's not properly combined. They try to make it properly combined by putting lettuce, tomatoes, onions, and pickles on the shit, right? Because here's the crazy part. Vegetables can properly be combined with meat and protein, but it's not meat itself. It's the protein that they're telling you about meat. So vegetables go with protein. So they give you lettuce, tomatoes, pickles, and onions. The lettuce, tomatoes, pickles, and onions goes with the protein. Lettuce, tomatoes, pickles, and onions go with starch. But still, starch and protein don't go together. You feel what I'm saying? I like to look at it like this, right? It's just for the culture. You got a homeboy who's a blood. You got a homeboy who's a Crip. You're neither, but they're both your homeboy. You feel what I'm saying? You can go around and chill with the Bloods because by way of your homeboy who's a blood. You can go around and chill with the Crips by way of your homeboy who's a Crip. But you cannot bring the blood and the Crip together. Same way with the food combining. Even if they're putting the vegetables with the protein, even if they're putting the vegetables with the starch, the protein and the starch don't go together. So your body says, okay, I'm going to secrete this protease enzyme, or I'm going to secrete this amylase enzyme. Whichever one I secrete and whichever one I digest, the other one's not getting digested because I'm not doing that double labor. So when you digest, you think it's going to store at the base of the body. It's going to store in my large intestine. Now it becomes toxic because now I'm not excreting it. So now it's recirculating these toxins into my body. You feel what I'm saying? And now it's destroying my large intestine. So my protein can't be digested anyway. My muscles start to deteriorate. You feel me? And then I started gaining weight. Why do you think, like, when you look at men who get old, it's like they get a big ass belly, their muscles start to fatigue. They start to look a lot smaller, because the fat now accumulates. The protein no longer digests because the large intestine is there. This is why now they're telling you when you get a certain age, start getting colonoscopies. They know. When I was talking about the fries, the second part of that, look at what a potato is. A potato is a root. What do roots hold? Water. You feel what I'm saying? So now, when I eat french fries, I bake them. I don't fry them. Because oil and water don't mix. But when you're frying potatoes are roots. When you're frying potatoes, you're frying water. Water and oil don't mix. We know that. Like, we can put oil and water together and there's always two layers, but yet we fry our foods in oil. And the water part is the problem because these two things are now mixing, but the heat allows them to mix because both of them have been denatured to a higher point. But That's not here nor there. The point of all of this was nutrients and nutrition. Nutrients and nutrition. Make sure that you are nourished. Make sure you are nourished. I gave y'all some of the herbal sources that you can get your nutrients from. Make sure you're taking them every day. Now you know why you have to take them. Eat the bullshit you're gonna eat. That's what you're gonna do. That's what you're gonna do. I'm not criticizing your eating habits or your diet. Like, eat it, but make sure you're nourished too. And when you're nourished, you start to see how less of it you really eat. How less of it you really eat, because now your body is getting everything that it needs. You'll see your muscle structure start to change. You'll see in your workouts, you'll start to recover. Why? Because your body has the nutrients that require the recovery. Soreness, when you get sore after working out, is lactic acid buildup. You feel what I'm saying? How do you offset lactic acid? You have to have the proper nutrients in order for your body to alleviate that. You feel me? It's all in what we eat, and it's all in what we consume. It's all in what we put in our bodies. So what we have to do from this point forward is, when we're eating, we have to make sure that we're getting nutrients. You feel me? You have to make sure that you're getting nutrients. You have to make sure you're getting nutrients. Otherwise, you are fed and still malnourished. And don't forget to take a moment to go get your exclusive merchandise from Just Scenes merch. At Just Scenes, each piece is specifically crafted with positive imagery and symbolism. From the titles and designs to the descriptions, each style gives you something to feel great about. With everything from hoodies and tees to coffee mugs and tote bags, we have something for the entire family. So be sure to get yours today. Find us on Instagram at Just Scenes merch and get your merchandise right now. All right, I'm gonna end it there. I'm not gonna go too much more on that. I think, like I said, I want to really switch the gears into the nutritional side of it, because it's like, when I consider all of the episodes that I've been talking about, like, I got this wealth of knowledge too, so I should give that out as well. There shouldn't be like, it shouldn't be limited. It shouldn't be in small scope to what I'm talking about. But yeah, there's a lot of things that we really got to touch up on when it comes to our food and when it comes to eating and it comes to what we're consuming. Okay, we have to eat better, and we have to, break the mentality that eating more is eating better. Like, when I was young and shit, I used to have homies, like, when they started, trapping, they'd be like, yo, I'm eating good now, because they were able to eat more. It's like, no, you're not. You're eating the same. Like, being able to go to McDonald's and Burger King twice a day doesn't mean you're eating better. It means you're eating more. You feel what I'm saying? Because are you still taking your nutrients? Are you still getting your vitamins and your minerals and shit? Are you getting the right things in your body? Nah. And then those things help with our mental acuity. Those things help with our brain fogs. They help with a lot of the shit that we're able to actively do. You feel what I'm saying? So, I really, like, that conversation that I had when he came back to me, it really made a lot of sense. And it was like, bro, that's the game. That's the game we're in, and the game that is being played. So what we have to do is make sure that through it all, we're able to consume the right things. We're able to get the right nutrients, and we're able to be not only fed, but nourished. The more nourished you are, the less fed you have to be, which means the less you'll have to eat. You feel what I'm saying? When we really put down the science of the shit, our stomachs are about the size of our fist, clenched. How the fuck can we eat that much food? Why the fuck are we eating that much food? We shouldn't, But then now it goes into other aspects to it, like food addictions. A food addiction is easily absolved because people can continue to say, I'm hungry. Why did you continue eating? I was still hungry. A lot of people aren't still hungry. They're malnourished. They haven't gotten any nutrients. And then they have had an emotional connection to it. And it makes them eat more. So now when your hormones are out of whack because you're not getting the right lipids, you're not getting the right lipids, therefore you're not able to produce the right hormones to circulate, your hormones get out of whack. Now each hormone is now triggered to a specific type of eating. If you get nervous, you want crunchy food. When you want love or you're emotional, you want sweet foods. Why do you think a lot of people eat sweets and we're in a loveless society? You know, why do you think a lot of people eat crunchy chips and gorge on like chips and have snacks and cookies and all of the shit? Because, you know, we're in a society that creates the anxiety that makes us nervous all of the time. You know, and if you're in a state of survival, you got all of that. You don't have time to feel love. You don't have time to feel safe. You don't have time to feel all these things to where you're not feeling these emotions. So now you emotionally eat, and you emotionally eat based off of the fact that the hormones being secreted are out of line. They're secreted out of line because you're not getting the right things in your body, and the cycle continues. So the food addiction is easy because it's like, I'm not nourished, but I don't know that I'm not nourished, but I can always absolve my food addiction by saying, I'm hungry. I'm still hungry. I'm still hungry. You're not hungry. You're malnourished. You're malnourished. And being malnourished does not take away from your being malnourished does not take away from your quote unquote economic status. You know, when you tell somebody, oh yeah, you're malnourished, we assume, okay, I'm not eating. No, you're eating. You're still malnourished. You can tell, you know, that's why you have to eat so much, you know. And like I said, the food addiction aspect of it, that's what is easily absolved, easily expressed, and easily put on the forefront because it's so easy to get lost in and get consumed in. You dig what I'm saying? And we get consumed well, you know, because we're not nourished. Just try it, challenge it. Like, if you don't believe me, just try it for yourself. No harm, no foul. It ain't gonna hurt you. Get you some sea moss gel. You feel me? Not just because, you know, the Rona and shit to help your immune system. I ain't even gonna talk about that part right now, but get you some sea moss gel, get you some alfalfa powder, and get you some moringa powder, and take them all daily. Take them all daily. Watch how your body starts to transform. Watch how your body starts to feel. Watch how your body starts to say, hey, thank you. You start to feel a lot more energetic. You have a lot more energy to do the certain things that you want to do on a regular basis. Your hands will stop feeling cold. Your feet will stop feeling cold. Your feet will stop hurting. You'll be able to walk around without shoes on. You'll be able to, like, you feel me? You'll stop feeling certain pains. You feel me? I know these pains, and I know the way the bodies be moving because I realized the changes in myself when I made the changes because I was malnourished. You'll stop feeling your bones pop, your joints lock in, and all of that shit. You can get you some Meg Thee Stallion knees too. For my sisters out there. I love y'all, man. But yeah, the reality is just try it, you know? If you feel like it ain't for you, it ain't for you, you know? And learn how to make sure your body is constantly getting the nutrients it needs. That's why you stay hungry. That's why you're not fed. That's why you have to keep eating. You feel what I'm saying? That's why you got to keep eating. So I'm gonna end there. I think that's enough right there. Be sure to follow me on Instagram at _just_scene_. Be sure to check out my all my books and everything that is me at iamjustscene.com. If you are looking to sponsor the podcast, please be sure to do so by clicking the link in your description of your podcast. Cash App and PayPal is fine. And yeah, look into your nutrition. Make sure your babies are getting the right nutrients. They're getting the right foods. You know, babies can't consume the same way we consume. All right, so if you're going to give your baby sea moss gel, don't give them the amount of sea moss gel that you're going to give yourself. You feel me? Their bodies can take it, but it needs to take it in small doses still because they're little, they're developing. You feel what I'm saying? But, you know, babies need nourishment. They need nourishment too. And because they can't get it anymore from the breast, you know, because they're fucking that shit up. You know, so many women can't lactate because your body's fucked up. Your body's fucked up. Lactation is a part of the nutrients your body needs. It needs to produce it somehow. Where do you think it's going to get the milk from? What do you think the lactation is? What do you think the milk is made of? It has colostrum in it, has a lot of vitamins and minerals and nutrients and key amino acids and all of that stuff in it passed on to the baby. But you have to have it in abundance for you. You feel me? You have to, and then that takes it to another level because you now have to have abundance for what you and the baby need, or what you and your child are going to need, prior. But now, certain herbs, not the ones that I mentioned, but certain herbs you got to be careful with because they cannot be passed on to a child, or they cannot be taken during pregnancy. So always, I give my disclaimer now, always seek the professional expression of an herbalist. Before you consume anything, seek your physician for medical help. Seek your medical physician, for clarity. Although they're not going to tell you much, but seek them. Those are my disclaimers. And lastly, what else can I say about this? Live, love, laugh, kiss your babies, and start to pay attention to your eating, and then learn to start being nourished and start putting the right things in your body. If you're taking multivitamins, continue to do so. Find a better brand. If you don't want to take the herbs, you can take an alternative to where you can take a pill-based one with Alive. It's called the Alive brand. That is the only man-made supplement that I would use, because it is plant-based, it is vegan, it is, I'm not sure if it's gluten-free or not, but I know it is plant-based, I know it is vegan, it is made from herbs, and it's, the best ones are the whole food energizers. Those are the best Alive brands, but they have Alive for men, Alive for women, Alive with iron. If you're melanated, make sure you get Alive with iron. Make sure you get Alive with iron, because you need iron. You're going to start feeling your hands get hot. You're going to start feeling your body a lot warmer. You're going to be, you'll start to see yourself getting less ashy. But yeah, your body's going to change and it's going to start to regulate because it has the abundance of the things that it needs. All right. So with that being said, I'm going to see y'all all on the next one. I love you. Kiss your babies and make sure they eat their vegetables. And I see you when I see you. Peace, love, knowledge, and freedom. I'm out.